You're watching the Fantasy Rankings Report only on FantasyNow Plus. Went black. So hopefully you can see me. My computer just decided to freeze at the perfect moment. So, okay, here we go. Sorry about that, everyone. My name is Topher Kurt, and you can call me Topher. Welcome to the Fantasy Rankings Report. I'm here with my co-host, Michael Flores. How are you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Finally got a win this week, so I'm doing all right.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, the Bears actually they looked kind of good. I'll give them that. I will also say that it was against the Cowboys.
Still counts. Still counts.
Still counts. We are excited to have you here tonight. So thank you for all of you that are listening or tuning in to what we are doing tonight. What we do here on the show is we take fantasy rankings from multiple reputable websites, compile the data together, and give you the best composite fantasy rankings that we possibly can. We always start off our day with a rankings question of the day. In the segment, Topher or Michael will ask the other one questions about rankings in any way, shape, or form. We can stick to our own areas of expertise. My area is wide receivers. Michael's is running backs. And today, Michael has the question for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So the following four players, I went 3 running backs, 1 wide receiver, have recently or will be taking over a bigger part of their offense. And I'm curious as to your thoughts on how you think who you think is going to have the biggest impact in fantasy this week.
Okay.
So first up, I have Trey Benson, who's taking over for James Conner, who is now out for the season with the knee injury, going up against the Seahawks. That's actually our Thursday night game tomorrow. We have Jordan Mason, who recently took over for Aaron Jones, going up against the Steelers. Cam Scatabo, who's taking over now for Tyrone Tracy Jr., who dislocated his shoulder, this week is up against the Chargers. And then the one wide receiver I decided to throw in, Emeka Egbuka, taking over really, I mean, let's be honest, he was kind of a big portion of the offense already, but he is taking over for Mike Evans, who's now out. They're going up against the Eagles. Chris Godwin might be coming back this week. He did practice today, so that could add a little bit more to the mix, but like I said, they're going up against the Eagles. So we have Trey Benson versus Seahawks, Jordan Mason versus Steelers, Cam Scatabo versus Chargers, and Emeka Egbuka versus the Eagles. Who do you think is going to have the bigger fantasy impact this week?
I think this week, it's going to be Emeka Egbuka. I just think that after watching him play, he's insane in the best way. You can just see the star in the making. You can see exactly why the Bucs were like, hey, let's pick him as our wide receiver 3 because he's going to take over for Mike Evans. It really feels like a Packers quarterback situation where they chose somebody that they didn't necessarily need to, so then they had consistency at that position no matter what. I think that Trey Benson will be good. I think Jordan Mason is the next one that would be next in line for me. I think Cam Scatabo would be third, especially with Jackson Dart there. We don't know what's happening there. And the Vikings obviously just trounced the Bengals. They're not going to do that any other week of the season. Doubtfully, the odds are very against that. But Jordan Mason has shown this last week and last season that he can be a dominant workhorse back. I just like Egbuka better for all of it.
Yeah, I agree. And I kind of wanted to throw him in there just because I wanted you to talk about him a little bit more because he has been absolutely amazing. Not saying that I'm fully surprised, but he's been looking pretty good.
Right? It's if there's a wide receiver drafted out of Ohio State, more than likely they are going to light the world on fire. And I love that for them. Okay. Before we get into the meat of our show, I want to show you what we use. So right here is um the document that we use. So it shows the average, the mode, the high, low, the range of all the websites that we use, and we divide them into tiers. So we have, running back 1, running back 2, what, that sort of thing, along with, that just got bigger on me. We also do the same thing with our running backs right here. So wide receivers, running backs, all in that same idea. And we're going to get going after I tell you who this is sponsored by. It's brought to you by FantasyNow Plus and the Fins Talk Sports Network. Please subscribe to both channels. Links are in the description below. Please do that. There's plenty of wonderful things that are going on both websites and both platforms. We're a little partial to FantasyNow Plus, but it is what it is. Okay. Would you trade Keenan Allen for BTJ or Tet? I would say in any format, yes. Any format. I have a very hard time believing that BTJ will continue to suffer as much as he is. And Tet is looking like a superstar. That kid can jump over me, and I'm 6'3". Who would I choose? Next question by this person. Who would I choose, Augusto? Who would you choose? Is it Here's the question. Is it dynasty or redraft? That'd be my question, Augusto. For that.
Yeah, that's a big question because if we're going dynasty, I'm going Tet. If it's a redraft, I might go BTJ just to I think he has the higher ceiling myself.
I agree with that. I'm with you there. If it's dynasty, I mean, I love BTJ. I'm not ready to give up on him yet. He won me a championship last year, like easily. So I think either or. I lean BTJ in both. Michael leans BTJ in redraft, and then Tet in dynasty. Thank you for asking that question, Augusto. One of the two main parts of our show is called Steady and Safe. This part of the show is where we each highlight 3 players in our positions of expertise that the consensus agrees on. I want to start off today talking about Chris Olave. He's currently wide receiver 29, but the guy has he's like the infinity stones of getting targets. Just there's nobody else that's doing anything in New Orleans right now. We weren't really thinking that they would. Let's be real. When you have Spencer Rattler at QB. But he has 37 targets in 3 games so far. He has 54 yards, 54 yards, 57 yards. If there is a reasonable level of increase or his of yardage or any sort of touchdown variance, they play the Buffalo Bills this week. So they're gonna have to do anything that they can to get into the end zone. And I think that Chris Olave is one of their best chances to do that.
Awesome. I like it. Yeah, they have to do something eventually. And really he's the guy that's got to be catching more for them and then getting all those extra yards.
Yes.
My first steady and safe guy, I'm going with Kenneth Walker. So he's at RB15 right now. He is coming off a 2 touchdown games against the Saints. I gave him, it was good enough for 17 points. Previous game, he had 105 rushing yards versus Pittsburgh. 17.8 points between those 2 games, averaging about the same thing. And another big thing, though, is Charbonnet is questionable for tomorrow's game. They said he practiced all week, but then he's questionable. What does that mean? I have no idea. Did something in practice, after practice happen that he felt sore or something? I have no idea. But if he's out, Walker's going to have so much an even bigger boost. And they're going up a Cardinals team that is currently allowing 18.8 points per game to running backs. So that's about just over what he's averaging right now the past 2 weeks. I'm looking for him to go ahead and continue that dominance, especially if Charbonnet is out.
Yeah, I think if Charbonnet's out, I think that's a great call. I've been pretty vocal about how I feel about Charbonnet over Walker this year, but not saying Walker's a bad player by any means. But I think Charbonnet beats him out this year. Another question from Augusto, Javante for Breece Hall. I think that's kind of an even split, to be honest with you. That's not an enticing trade to me. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, I agree. Especially if CeeDee Lamb's hurt, they're going to rely on Javante a little bit more. Breece Hall, depending on who his quarterback is, he might get the ball more. I mean, he does catch, he does run. So it is fairly even. I guess it really depends on what the rest of that team looks like. But even then, I think, yeah, you're breaking even. So it's at that point, you're just trading to make a trade.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I think unless if there's some sort of injury or something, most of the time 1-for-1 position trades don't do a whole lot to help either team out. Like running back for running back or wide receiver for wide receiver. Unless if you can steal value, like you talked about earlier, Keenan Allen for a young wide receiver, that's that sort of thing. Okay, my wide receiver, my second steady and safe wide receiver is wide receiver 15, Tedder McMillan right here. Talked about him a little earlier. Again, this guy is incredible. Just so much fun to watch. He is dominating that passing game. And even with, let's talk about this. Last week, the Panthers just dominated. I'm saying that word again, but they did. They skunked the Atlanta Falcons. They put them in a place that nobody thought that they would be in. And seeing that, he did not get as much in the receiving game. It was his lowest yards on the season, 48. His other 2 games, 68 and 100 yards. And he's going to continue to excel in the passing game because the Panthers are going to continue to be in game scripts where they are not leading. They're just not. So Tet being the talent that he is and the opportunity, he's that main target. There's no question.
Yeah, absolutely. My next guy, I'm going with probably one of the more consistent guys for me lately, and that's J.K. Dobbins. Right now, he's at RB18, and when I say consistent, I mean he is consistent. He's got 3 straight games with a touchdown to start the season. He's got 12.8, 14.5, and 14.3 points respectively. And they're going up against a struggling Bengals D next, who's allowed 116 yards and 2 touchdowns to Jordan Mason last week, as we just mentioned. And they're giving up 15.9 points per game to running backs. Now, Bengals can't figure out what's going on offense. They can't figure out what's going on defense. Got to attack.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins is quietly being an RB1 right now. Low end RB1, but he's an RB1. And nobody thought that he would be that. They thought that he'd be the 1B to RJ Harvey. It's still early in the season, but I'm still saying I think that I like that a lot. My last steady and safe wide receiver is Jordan Addison. Now that might sound like something far out of left field because he has not played a game this season. Yes, that is true. because he had to serve a 3-game suspension. However, that was lifted. Talking about consistent, his first 2 seasons, he scored 186.3 points his rookie season, his sophomore season. In 2 less games, scored 181 points. He had 10 touchdowns his rookie year, 9 last year. He had almost 900 yards last year, just over 900 yards the year before. He's right about that point of, 1,010, which is a great place to be as a fantasy wide receiver. That's what you want. And I think that he's been a missing piece in this Vikings offense, and they've missed him more than people have recognized, especially with JJ now going down and Carson Wentz there. Another reliable target is going to be really good. He will get fed.
I like that, especially because I have not been expecting them to perform the way that they have. Granted, week 1 was probably a fluke the way that they came back, but still, having that extra weapon is going to be dangerous for them. My last guy I'm going with for steady and safe, he's a guy that's taking over right now, Cam Scatterbo.
Yes.
He's RB24. Granted, he was non-existent week 1, but the next 2 weeks he scored 11.9 and 18.1 points respectively. I just mentioned earlier, Tyrone Tracy has a dislocated shoulder, so he's kind of useless right now. So it's Cam's time to shine, really, and he's really coming up when it matters. He just had a 60 rush, 60 receiving yard game, 6 receptions on 8 targets. That led the team in receptions, targets, receiving yards, threw a rushing touchdown into that. The only thing that's going to be a little scary this week is they are going up against the Chargers, who are a really good defense that allowed 2.8 and 4.4 points to the running backs in weeks 1 and 2 respectively. But again, they have a guy I just mentioned a little while ago. They allowed 14.3 points to Dobbins last week. But the thing is, the Giants right now currently have the following players that are questionable for this game: Tyrone Tracy Jr., Darius Slayton, Malik Neighbors, Theo Johnson. That's half their offense. They're going to need to go somewhere. So he's going to probably play a heavy, heavy role coming up this week. And if you're in a PPR league, expect him to get some points.
I like it a lot. I like it. Good call. Also, he wears number 44, which is my my favorite number. Okay, got a couple comments here before we get to the biggest part of our show. Somebody has said, fellas, I need y'all help, but didn't ask anything beyond that. KJ Frederick, better wide receiver flex start, Debo or Ricky Pearsall, full PPR. I will tell you, Ricky, because do we know if Jaden Daniels is going to play this week? I feel like he's not.
I'm not sure. I know that they said he was limited in practice, but the thing is, I do know Pearsall did not practice today.
Yeah. So I think both of them are injury reliant. I think you need to be aware of both of them. That's my thought.
Agreed.
Here we go. You sue YouTube for emotional distress. As long as it's not us, Jamie Perogue, you can sue whoever you want. Okay, and Scruff Talk. Who would you rather have in ROS? Keenan Allen or Drake London? ROS. Remind me. Do you know what that means?
No, he's got me on that one.
Okay. ROS. Rest of season. Duh.
Oh.
Rest of season. Derp. Okay. So my screen just went black again. I'm loving my computer right now. Keenan Allen or Drake London rest of season? Keenan Allen?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd lead Allen as well. I'm not sure what Atlanta does not look good. And I mean, Drake London, he's a good receiver, but he's got to get thrown to, and he needs someone to throw to him.
Yes. And that's just that's not happening. And I think statistically right now, Justin Herbert has the league's highest yardage total in 860 passing yards. Michael Penix has 605. And yes, we could look at Kirk Cousins as well because he played and he threw for 29. And I think Justin Herbert's playing like an MVP right now. I think you go with the better offense. Rest of season, yes. Dynasty, absolutely not. But rest of the season, absolutely. Good. Got some good questions. I'm loving that we get these questions every week as we are live filming. Okay, here is the biggest part of our show right here. Experts against experts. It's the part of the show where we each highlight 5 players in our positions of expertise that the consensus disagrees on. We'll talk about one from each tier. For example, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to lead us off with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson. This is not a guy that I've talked about yet this year because who knew what was going to happen with Justin Fields? Well, who knows what's going to happen with Justin Fields now that he's in concussion protocol? But he's looking QB foolproof. Let's talk about him. He's got a range of 8 right now. Wide receiver 6 to wide receiver 14, meaning that experts have him. Some at least one have him at 6. Some of them or one of them have him at wide receiver 14. He has a 39% target share. That's unheard of. That's insane, especially this far into the season. He started with a 41% target share, and then it's just slowly gone down to 39. It's not been a drastic drop by any means. He also has the 4th most targets in the league at wide receiver with 30. The next highest player on his team has 13 targets, which is Breece Hall. 13 versus 30. The next highest wide receiver on the Jets is Tyler Johnson with 6 targets. He literally has 400% more targets than Tyler Johnson. I think I did the math right. Or is it 500% or whatever? I don't know. But he has a lot more. He has 5 times more. So I bet it's 500%. I don't know. I don't do math. He also is having consistently 18.5 plus PPR points per game. He has the 2nd highest first read target share in the NFL at 46.9. And what that means right there, everybody, is that when the quarterback is looking to pass and to throw the ball, he looks somewhere first. They've got first target reads on every play. He is the first target read almost 50% of the time. With all the players on the field, they are looking his way that frequently. That's something you want to run with right there. I am tripping up over words today, and I love it. It's great. Garrett Wilson. Here's something that Kyle Borgononi, who works for the Fantasy Footballers, tweeted out today. Garrett Wilson's percentage of go routes, going deep, in 2022, 23%, 2023, 24%, 2024, 27%, 2025, 7%. He's literally 20% lower on go routes this season than he was last season. That number is going to spike. It has to. Like, they're not, Jets are not a team that you're going to be like, oh yeah, they're going to be in positive game scripts. Nobody. He's going to have to get the ball more. And they're going to have to take more shots downfield. And who are they going to throw it to? Him. There's only 2 people on the team after 3 weeks that has double-digit targets. Garrett Wilson is a lock for this. Here's a fun little stat for you. He is one of 5 receivers in NFL history to post 80 plus receptions and 1,000 yards in his first 3 seasons. One of 5. The others, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Michael Thomas, and Odell Beckham Jr. If I'm a football wide receiver, I want my name up with them. I want to be like, yeah, I was one of 5 that did that, That Garrett Wilson, I think he's at wide receiver 8 right now in our rankings. I think that's where he should be continued to be seen and just existing right there at wide receiver 10.
That
Go
is
for
awesome. Excuse me. I did talk about the larger ones in the past week, so I wanted to touch on someone I haven't talked about in a while. That's Jonathan Taylor. He's RB4. His range is only 3 to 7, so he's RB1 in everyone's tier. But he has gone off lately. This past week, 102 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns versus Tennessee. Previous week against Denver, 165 rushing yards, 50 receiving yards. This is absolute freak lately. Everybody needed to see it after how he started finishing last year. People were saying maybe he might be done. No. He is putting all the doubters to shame right now. He's going to go up next against a Rams team that just held Barkley to just 46 rushing yards, which is insane. That's the first time that Barkley's been under 50 since like week 6 2 years ago. Barkley has been on an insane tear, and the Rams finally stopped it. But the thing is that Taylor currently leads the league with 338 rushing yards, which, shout out to you finding this tweet from Underdog. He has 338 rushing yards, which is currently more than the Cardinals, the Chiefs, the Saints, Patriots, Packers, Seahawks, Giants, Texans, Chargers, Panthers, Niners, Dolphins, Titans, Browns, Raiders, Steelers, Bengals.
Wow.
He is absolutely destroying the running game right now. That's a guy that if he wasn't so high up on the running back tier, he'd be all 3 of my safe and steady picks for this week. He is on fire. I love what he's doing right now. I was able to pick him up late first round in one of my leagues. Everybody was kind of avoiding him. I figured why not, and I am loving it right now. Jonathan Taylor is that guy, and with an Indianapolis team that is exceeding, I would have to say, almost everyone's expectations, if not everyone's expectations. He's going to be a guy that they continuously go to, whether it's run game, pass game. He's showing he can do both still. I am loving me some Jonathan Taylor again this week.
I think you just have to think that Jonathan Taylor's going to be probably RB1 in fantasy if he stays healthy.
Absolutely.
I think he's going to come back and repeat this. I love JT. I love watching him play. It's so nice because there was a little lull there. We weren't sure what was going to happen. And I really love to see him come back and kill it.
Everybody loves a good comeback story.
Yes, they do. Speaking of a comeback story, wide receiver 2 tier is Ricky Pearsall. Yes. Comeback story from getting shot. Last year. Let's be real. He is currently our ranked wide receiver 17. He's got a range of 10, with the highest ranking being 13 and lowest ranking being 23. He is one of 4 wide receivers with 2 100-yard games so far this season. That's pretty legit, especially with one of those games being with Mac Jones. Like, he's producing. He's the second highest target share on the team at 22%, which is a great target share on a team for a wide receiver, and only behind CMC. Of course, CMC has a 30% target share. He has the third highest receiving yards in the NFL right now with 281. The only other 2 are within his division with Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith-Njigba, JSN right now. He has the third highest wide receiver air yards in the NFL, meaning that when the ball is thrown to him, that is how far the ball is going. So the ball is flying to him. He has that opportunity for that. He's only behind Malik Neighbors, who has an insane 543 air yards, and Tyquan Thornton, as we all predicted this season, with 452. He has 16 receptions, 10th most in the league right now at wide receiver. Again, very good. Is he 10th overall? No, but they're tied for 10th with most of them. However, he has made 13 of his 16 receptions have been 10 plus yards. That's great. That's the second highest in the league. He's tied with Jackson Smith-Njigba and Jamar Chase on that. Puka Nacua has 16 10-plus yard plays. Otherwise, those four are leading the league in that. Right now, he's injured and didn't practice today. It could not be great for him. But I think that he is incredible. I think that he's standing out on a 3-0 team that lost their starting quarterback, has now lost their star defensive end for the season. Their receiver room has plenty of injuries. George Kittle's on IR. Ricky Pearsall and CMC are the offense right now. Run with it.
Yeah, absolutely. How weird is this season with injuries, though? Like, seriously.
It is.
Can you remember a year that had so many big injuries, season-ending injuries at that, too, so early in the season?
No. I can't.
Yeah, it's been a little ridiculous.
Yes, it has been.
So my next guy dropped tiers. He went from the RB1 tier to RB2. That's Ashton JT. He's at RB16 now. His range is 14 to 19. Las Vegas is struggling hard in the run game. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch any Raiders games or even just watch highlights, but anytime he gets the ball, it looks like they're hitting him almost immediately. That line is absolutely struggling.
Oh, it is.
I honestly don't understand it. And I saw a tweet earlier, and I wish I would have copied down who it was from, but they were saying that Chip Kelly changed his stance a little bit, and I don't know if that has a whole lot to do with it, but if that was a change of stance really that made that much of a difference to him, that's kind of ridiculous. But that's the one thing that people are trying to point out, because they're trying to find any reason as to what that struggles or why that struggle is happening. But his highest rushing yards, he had the highest rushing yards this past week so far in this for the short season versus Washington, and that was at 63 yards. Now his best finish, though, points wise, fantasy wise, was week 1 where he had 12 points. He was RB 24. Excuse me, getting all choked up over it. The next 2 weeks combined, he has only scored 12.7 points. They are absolutely struggling in the worst way with it. The fact that they picked him up so early, which everybody was expecting him to be an early draft pick, is not looking good for them at the moment. But this week they're going up against the Chicago defense, who's giving up an average of 139.3 rushing yards a game. They're also the worst in the league at 2.5 yards. The running backs getting 2.5 yards before first contact, and they're giving up an average of 5.5 yards per attempt. Now, this is the week that they're really going to figure out who JT is, because if they cannot figure out here, this is the week where I think there's starting to be actual room for concern. I know he's a rookie. I know we're only 3 weeks into his career, but if you can't rush against the Bears, something is wrong with you right now.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Something would be definitely wrong. Here's a crazy Ashton Genty stat that I saw yesterday and boggled my mind. He has 144 rushing yards on the season, 145 rushing yards after contact.
Oh, wow.
He is literally being hit behind the line so often that he is producing more yardage after contact than his overall yardage.
That is
That's
absolutely
insane.
insane.
Yeah. Here we go. Got a couple questions here. I'm 0-3 in a 14-man league. Do I trade CDM away for Chase? He has Rome, Adunze, Jay Jettas, and Shakir to carry the load. No, I don't think so. I think that CD Lamb, they didn't put him on IR, did they? No, they didn't.
No, it doesn't
So
sound like they want to.
no, and Jamar Chase is now being handicapped essentially the rest of the season because he doesn't have Joe Burrow. I say you tough it out. You have Rome Adunze, you have Jay Jettas. Those are two, like, having those two wide receivers and then CD Lamb in a few weeks. I think that's going to help you. Michael, what do you think?
I'm more confused on how he was able to get that in a 14-man. Like,
Right?
hats off to you, man. I'd stick with what you have.
Yes. I'm wondering if it's Dynasty or Auction or something like that, but because there's no way you're coming away in a 14-man with CD and Justin Jefferson. So 4KT Owen, start 2, Judkins, Chase Brown, Igbuka, Benson. Second question, do you drop Bill for Travion Henderson? Let's start with this first question. Starting 2, Judkins, Chase Brown, Igbuka, Benson. Well, we kind of already touched on Igbuka versus Benson earlier in our first question. I'm going Igbuka there. Talking about Chase Brown in a very similar stat to Ashton Genty, Chase Brown has negative 54 yards before contact.
Wow.
Negative 54 yards before contact. That means he is being touched behind the line so often that he cannot even have positive yards on any of his rushes. That's insane. I'm not trusting Chase Brown, not because he isn't talented. I'm not trusting that offensive situation. How can you have negative 54 rushing yards before contact and be a viable football team? No. So for me, I think this comes down to Judkins and Igbuka. That's my thought. What do you think?
I'm right there with you. I'll get into Chase Brown in a little bit, but I completely agree. I'm not sure what you're going to get from Benson this week. I don't trust it enough, but Igbuka is absolutely for sure. And Judkins is starting to really show who he is, and I think it's only going to go up from here.
And second question, do you drop Bill, Clinton, Krosky, Merritt, Constitution of United States of America the Third, or Travion Henderson? I say if you can drop somebody else besides Bill, but I like Travion better than Bill. Maybe you can. I would try and trade Bill. If you want to pick up Henderson, do a trade where you send like 3 players, the other person sends 2. It opens that up, and you can pick up Travion without dumping somebody that's just going to be easy for others to take on the waiver wire. Michael?
Yeah, I completely agree because I have no idea what Washington's doing with their running back scenario. Now with Eckler out, they're essentially using McNichols, Bill, and Rodriguez. I don't know about evenly, but not well between the 3. And as much as I really like Bill, Henderson's really going to be outperforming him probably from here on out for a good portion of the season, if not the rest of the season.
I fully agree with that. Let's go to my wide receiver 3 tier. I want to talk about Jalen Waddle at wide receiver 33. He's got a range of 8. His highest rank is 28. His lowest rank is 36. Let's talk about the defense he's going to be facing, because the New York Jets, you hear that, you go, okay, there could be some competition there, especially with Sauce Gardner. The New York Jets last week alone allowed three wide receivers to have 10 plus PPR points last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Mike Evans went out. And he still scored 10 plus PPR points last week. They have allowed 4 wide receivers to have 70 plus yards this year. Jalen Waddle, however, only has an 18% target share. He is third on his team. And you might be like, okay, we get it. Devon Achan's there. Tyreek Hill's there. Malik Washington has a 12% target share. That's very, very close, especially after just 3 weeks. That's too close for comfort for me. I don't like that. He also has had the highest catchable targets on the team at 82%. He's also had 3 of the 5 teams' end zone targets. However, he's only had 137 yards on 14 receptions. Ricky Pearsall has 281 yards on 16 receptions. Ricky Pearsall has doubled him and then some, and only has 2 receptions more. Jalen Waddle has 2 touchdowns this year. That is his total from last year. Is that a good thing? Yes, meaning that positive touchdown regression is in his purview. It's on site. But you take that away, he's not even averaging 50 yards a game right now. He's barely averaging 45. That's scary. That's not something that I necessarily want to be starting every week. The Jets defense gives me a little bit of hope, but I don't know. The Dolphins don't give me hope. And he's way too good of a player. I feel awful because he's so good, but he also is not able to make the most of his situation. So how good of a player is he? Because we've seen wide receivers on crappy teams excel. We've seen Terry McLaurin excel with no one being able to throw him the ball for years. We've seen that sort of thing. Larry Fitzgerald, he had Carson Palmer for a couple years, had a Kurt Warner resurgence. I think he was in the league for that. That's it. You're not sitting there and be like, oh yeah, that was really good for Larry Fitzgerald to have. No. Jalen Waddle, where's he at? Where's he at? I don't, if I'm going to start him this week, flex, but I don't trust him yet. I just don't.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I have him in a dynasty league that I've actually benched him in. So I agree. He makes me nervous still. It's not really him that makes me nervous. It's just that team, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So my RB3 tier guy is one of the questions we just had, and that's Chase Brown. He's dropped down to RB25, and he is struggling hard right now. He has a total of 93 rushing yards on the season, 43 receiving yards so far. This last week versus Minnesota, he had 10 attempts, 3 yards. That goes back to what you were mentioning about his negative 100,000 yards before contact. Granted, I know they played. I know they absolutely destroyed. They got destroyed by Minnesota, and the running game had to be paused. That game was a 48-10 game. I get that, but 10 attempts, 3 yards is just unacceptable right now. I don't care if that's your RB2. I don't care if it's your RB3. That's just unacceptable. He did have 4 receptions, which is nice for a PPR, but that was only for 17 yards. This is another guy that if he cannot figure it out this week, it's going to be a cause for concern. He's going up against a Broncos D that's allowed 70 rushing yards, 59 rushing yards to 59 rushing and 70 rushing and 59 receiving yards, to Amari and Hampton, who was able to get 18.9 points. And then the previous week, as I mentioned already, Jonathan Taylor, who had 165 rushing, 50 receiving, good enough for 27.5 points. If Chase Brown cannot replicate any of that this week, that offense is absolutely cooked. I don't care if they have Jamar Chase. If you don't have a running game, it is not going to work out for you.
I agree. I feel bad for him. He was taking a high, but this offensive line, that meme a few years ago of that it shows Joe Burrow with Penei Sewell and throwing the ball to anyone, or else him, Joe Burrow, getting sacked with Jamar Chase there. Chase Brown is in that same situation. That offensive line is not helping them. Jamie Perogue asking, in the year 2004, would you draft LaDainian Tomlinson or Priest Holmes with your 101 and redraft? LaDainian Tomlinson easily. Hands down.
All day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to say he also is mad that I didn't ask his question real quick. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood, and then put more of it? And I don't really care. I love you, Jamie. Okay. I want to go on to fantasy darling of the season right now, just coming out of the woodwork. Trey is wide receiver 48 in our rankings. He has a range of 16, wide receiver 34 to wide receiver 50. Geno Smith has 4 touchdown passes this season. Do you know who else has 4 touchdown receptions this year? Trey Tucker. Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers. No. Whatever. We'll just feed the ball to Trey Tucker. Nobody predicted this. Last week had 149 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was available in 97% of Yahoo leagues this week. And all of a sudden he's being ranked as a flex play. Number 1 sought after guy on waiver wire this week. Is this going to mean something? Is this something that you want apps? And he's got a 20% target share. He's also played 90+% of his snaps all 3 weeks as the Raiders' Z wide receiver. Led the league in yards before catch and was top 3 in air yards in week 3. Just kind of getting things out there. Yes, that is 1 week. Are you going to draft him and get that kind of week again? Absolutely not. But is he coming out as the tertiary option for Geno Smith, who right now has the second most passing yards in the league at 831? Yeah, I think that this is a very solid third option for this offense. And again, for a team that is going to be behind in games, that is going to have to throw the ball. And they know that Trey Tucker is a deep threat. You would not call Jacoby Myers a deep threat. You would not call Brock Bowers a deep threat. So those two allow him to stretch the field more. I think I like it. He also has the team's highest end zone target share with 43%. Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers both have 29%. They're still producing very well, Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. Trey Tucker, is he going to be able to be trusted? People are going to play him this week because they're like, oh, yes, Trey Tucker, look what he did. I don't know. It's a mystery. What do you think? Who would you start him? Would you not?
So I Might have him as a flex guy this week, and the only reason I say that is because I just mentioned if James can't do something against the Bears, there's going to be an issue. The Bears are again without some very important guys on defense. Jalen Johnson's out. Kyler Gordon I'm assuming is going to be out again. TJ
Yep.
Edwards, is he going to play? There goes your middle of the field. What do you do? Trey Tucker.
Yes.
I might roll the dice on him this week.
Trey Tucker. Sorry, not Trey Tucker. The Chicago Bears have given up the third most fantasy points to the wide receiver position right now. They have given up 2 100-yard games so far. They've given up 6 touchdowns. And last week, even after like Lamb went down, they still gave up 68 and 64 yards to Gavontae Turpin and George Pickens. I think we see another shootout game, just like we saw last week with Chicago. But I think the passing offense of the Raiders will be able to keep up better than Dallas did, even though that sounds kind of crazy. But I think that's what it is. I think that's what I think you go Trey Tucker. I think you start him as a flex because they're playing the Bears.
Makes me sad.
I know. I'm sorry. It makes me happy.
All right, so I'm about to get into the weeds of running backs now at this point. My RB4 tier guy, I'm going with Woody Marks. He's as high as RB39 right now. His range is 38 to 45. Now, he hasn't had too many opportunities. He's had 12 total rushing attempts on the year. Half of them came last week.
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind of made the most out of it the last 2 weeks. He's averaging 4.7 and 4.5 yards respectively between week 2 and 3. He's only had one reception each of the last 2 weeks. Now that in week 2, that was good enough for 37 yards. Last week was only 9. But he's making the most out of the time he's getting. He's one of those guys that I feel to even make sense to have him right now, you're probably playing Dynasty. You're probably in a very deep league. But one thing to keep in mind, he is backing up an aging Chubb. And at this point, if you have an aging Chubb, you got to get your Woody Marks right. So just keep an eye out for him for the rest of the season.
Yes. Very well played. Very well played. I think he's incredible. I think that let me take that back. I think his opportunity is incredible. I think that he could be incredible for fantasy. Why do I keep repeating adjectives today? No idea. I like it. I like it. I like Woody Marks. He's slowly getting more and more each week, and Chubb just isn't doing it. And who knows when Joe Mixon is going to be back? If he's going to be back this season, we don't know anything that I'm aware of. I could be wrong, but we don't know. We don't know much.
Yeah, and it doesn't look promising. So
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. You're not hearing, oh, he's healing better, and we're excited for him to come back. And you're not hearing about it. When they say no news is good news, not in this way. Not in this way. Okay, my wide receiver 5 tier guy, Alec Ayamanor. I've talked about him before. I've also said that he would, and I put it in a tweet, one of my hot takes of the season was that he would be a winner of the fantasy football playoffs for you. And right now, that is looking like a great take from me. Okay. So if you believe anything I say, it's Alec Ayamanor deserves to be on your team. Let's talk about it. He has the third most receiving yards by a rookie so far this season. Only behind Teteroa McMillan and Emeka Egbuka, who were both already talked about on this show. Did you know that Alec Ayamanor and Travis Hunter played each other in college? Do you know who's playing each other this week again?
Oh, I love it.
You know what Alec Iomanor did to Travis Hunter in 2023? 13 receptions, 294 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The
That's
wildest part,
amazing.
according to Austin Abbott FF on Twitter, he accomplished all of this in just the second half against Heisman winner Travis Hunter. He has gotten 2 touchdowns. He's also looking like the best wide receiver there. Calvin Ridley is not showing out like he did last year. He's being a touchdown machine right now. And who else does he really have to throw to? He really doesn't have much of anything. I like Chig. I like the idea of Chig Okonkwo. But the reality isn't there. Leaders in passer rating, when targeted a minimum of 6 targets a game, out of 49 wide receivers qualified, Alec Iomanor is 17. Calvin Ridley, 47 of 49. We are going to start seeing Alec Iomanor, wide receiver 49, be a weekly play, which is crazy as a 4th round rookie wide receiver, but he has that opportunity. He has that. He also, let me pull this up real quick because I thought it was. He has a 21% target share, who had 22%? Oh, Ricky Pearsall, who's our wide receiver 2 tier. So that's a great percentage to be having. He also has the team's highest percentage of air yards, 35%. And just like, Jalen Waddle, who we talked about earlier with end zone target share, he has 60% of the team's end zone target share. He's somebody that you go after. He's somebody you play against the Houston Texans this week, who just let go of CJ Gardner-Johnson. And then also, Derek Stingley's hurt. Their secondary could be literally half of what it normally is. Put him as a flex play.
I love it. I did pick him up in multiple leagues after you first mentioned that, I believe a week or 2 ago, whenever that was that you said to do it. I was able to get him no problem, so I am excited for that.
Good.
All right, so my RB5, I'll make this one quick. I went Rico Dowdle. He's RB 53, 58 to 56 range. He's coming off his most productive week. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not saying much. He hasn't been extremely productive so far this year, but he more than doubled his attempts on the year with 10. He had 9 in the previous 2 games combined. But he was able to get 10.8 points against Atlanta, who they somehow shut out. I don't understand how that happened, but it did. And honestly, at this point, we're just going to see if that translates into more usage. Because if your RB5 tier guy is going to come out and give you 10 points a game, that's definitely worth looking into in your deeper leagues for sure.
Absolutely. I like Rico Dowdle. He produced when the when the Dallas Cowboys had nothing last year. I think he's a very good player. I think he has an opportunity to take some of Chuba's workload away, especially if they have some more surprise good games like they had last week in week 3. And I have a student that said, I keep forgetting you have this on Wednesdays, Kurt. Yes, you do, sucker. But thank you for checking in at the last moment. We have hit our hour mark, which means it is time for us to go. Michael, do you have anything to add before we deuce it out?
Just make sure you follow us, the channels, join our Discord if you're into the Discords. We have a lot of great conversations going on in there, so just join it, and you can actually put some of your questions in there also if you can't always get the live show and you just watch the recording.
Yes, Absolutely. Plus, hey, if you haven't played on Underdog before, you play $5, you get 50 with the promo code FN Plus. Run with that. That if you haven't played Underdog, I like it. You do not have to be a high stakes gambler to be doing that. I tend to throw out maybe $5 to $10 a week. Just hey, let's see what happens. Good luck. You don't have to be rolling in it. But if you get $50, if you play $5 to $10 a week, that can last you without winning anything. That can last you 5 to 10 weeks of the NFL season, let alone if you win anything. That's pretty good. That's half the NFL season. I'd run with that. Okay. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for participating in our show, however you have. And we will see you next week. Deuces.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.